India is the only country in the Quad which has fought the Chinese. Zelensky was having those kinds of dreams. And the Americans let him down. Americans refused to give him money. They kept on giving him money, kept on giving him weapons, and now the palm and five fingers policy of China. The palm is Tibet, and the five fingers are Uttarakhand, Ladakh, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal. Jai friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the Chanakya Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. There is an interview of Dr. Jaishankar with ANI, the news network, which is going viral, in which he's asked very specifically, why did President Joe Biden not come to India? And the answer that he gives is not surprising at all. It's very commonsensical, if I may. Dr. Jaishankar says that we could not get everybody on board regarding the Quad. And now, here is the thing about the Quad, ladies and gentlemen. America wants to weaponize the Quad. India is against weaponizing of the Quad, which is why India never allowed it to become a treaty, because in treaty, when you have a treaty, when you sign a treaty, then you're incumbent to help and intervene militarily. Then you owe people in a treaty as they owe you. Now, here is the thing. India was fighting with the Chinese at a time when the Americans did not even have a relationship with the Chinese. So for the Americans to come out today and say that, India should do this and India knows what to do, because India has been dealing with the Chinese since the 50s. Since the 50s, India has been at it with the Chinese. We fought a war in 1962. We fought a limited war in 1967. We've had border skirmishes along Galwan with the Chinese. We understand the Chinese understand us, and we know where this is going. But America wants India to confront the Chinese on its own terms and conditions. And what India wants, you see what China did, first of all. I'm going to come to what India wants a little bit later, but what the Chinese did, that for almost 25 years, the Chinese said, we will not fight with anybody. Chinese are smart people. They said, we're not going to fight with anybody. We're not going to fight with a single country in the world, while we may have our disputes with the rest of the world regarding territory, but we're not going to speak about it. Not a murmur. Quiet. Absolutely. Zip. And then the Chinese worked day and night on their economy. They made it the second largest economy in the world. And when the Chinese had the money, right? When the Chinese had the money, then the Chinese started expanding their military. They started pumping in hundreds of billions of dollars every year into its military, into the PLA, so to say. New fighter jets, new aircraft carriers, new weapons for the infantry, new radar, the whole caboodle of military equipment. China started funding everything. And today, America finds that its greatest adversary is China. Its greatest enemy is China, the same enemy that it funded for over 3 decades. Now, there is a lesson in all this, ladies and gentlemen, especially my friends watching in the United States of America. All of you NRIs are watching there. A lot of you have called me. I've received 5-7 phone calls that, what is it about President Joe Biden not attending the Republic Day parade, and why should he not this thing and attend it? And do you think there is a rupture in the relations of India and the USA? Let me explain. Now, obviously, Dr. Jaishankar said that, this entire thing about not being on the same platform as Quad, right? Quad, or the quadrilateral, is a grouping of 4 countries. India wants to talk trade. India wants to talk vaccine. India wants to talk development. America wants to talk war, right? You have the AUKUS for that. You don't need the Quad for that. Now, America wants to weaponize the Quad. For India, India says that we will confront the Chinese, because in the entire Quad, I think in the last so many years, the Japanese fought the Chinese, I don't know, a century back. The Americans have never fought the Chinese. The Australians have never fought the Chinese. India is the only country in the Quad which has fought the Chinese recently, after the Second World War. After the Second World War, India is perhaps the only country which has fought the Chinese. Leave aside Vietnam, because Vietnam is not part of the Quad. So I'm not mentioning Vietnam here. 1979 China-Vietnam War, I'm ignoring all of that. I'm talking about major countries. I'm talking about the Quad. Now, the issue here is that a lot of Indians, including me, we have a lot of respect for the United States, the culture of the United States, the people of the United States. A lot of Indians want to go and settle down in the United States, but we don't trust the United States. Now, therein lies a dichotomy. How can you admire a place? How can you like the place, love the place, but you don't trust it? The problem is we don't trust the government of the United States, and many Americans would agree with us. They don't trust their own government, and we don't trust their government. You know, Indians trust their government more than they trust the government of the world's only superpower, and here is why. There are a lot of Indians, well-informed Indians, people who follow geopolitics and foreign affairs, and they say that, look at what the Americans have done, to the Afghan National Army. And this is something that America has been doing decade after decade after decade. America has a history. When I say America, I mean the American government. I don't mean the American people. I don't mean the American system, so to say. I mean the American government. Successive American governments have this very bad habit that in front of the enemy, they are willing to bow down. In front of their friends, they will betray. That is the first instinct of the American deep state. Now, I'll give you a couple of examples. Look at what's happened to Zelensky. America said, fight on, don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the money, don't worry about the weapons. We'll give you Javelin missiles, we'll give you Patriot missile systems, we'll give you this and that, hammer the Russians. Zelensky was in an absolute state of euphoria, ladies and gentlemen. Zelensky said, here's my chance. Here's my chance. People will remember me, centuries to come, that there was a warrior called Zelensky who led the Ukrainian armies against the Russians and he won. Zelensky was having those kinds of dreams. And the Americans let him down. Americans refused to give him money. They kept on giving him money, kept on giving him weapons, and now they are saying suddenly that, no, I don't think we should give you money because, our Congress is not able to get it act together and people aren't agreeing whether you should give money or not. But the problem is that whether in America there is a consensus to give money to Ukraine or not, that is one question. But what about the Ukrainian who's fighting? He's depending on money, he's depending on weapons coming from the United States of America. He's put his family in harm's way. He's put himself in harm's way. And suddenly the Americans pull out. Look what the Americans did in Afghanistan. They betrayed the Afghan National Army. The Afghan National Army was hunted down by the Taliban after the Americans left. They very coolly signed the Doha Accords. And they should have at least taken back, America would have simply, the American president would have made a couple of phone calls, and there would have been so many European countries who would have taken a few people of the Afghan National Army and, other people also. They would have taken them easily. But the Americans did not do that. They left the Afghan National Army. I'm sure some of them were taken, but largely the Afghan National Army was hunted down by the Taliban. Hundreds have been killed. And this after 20 years of friendship. So what does this tell the Afghan people? If you were an Afghan, what would you think? Forget about the Taliban. I'm saying, what would a normal Afghan think about the Americans? That you can't trust the Americans. They will betray you. If you ask the Ukrainians, they will say the Americans will betray you. You can't trust the Americans. This we have seen. You see, Pakistan deserved what it got from the Americans. Pakistan deserves to be treated the way it was treated by the Americans. But look at the other countries here. So what does that tell India? So here is India's take, and this is to the NRIs who are in the US, who are watching this program, my brothers and sisters of Indian origin who are watching this program in the US. I would like to tell you that inside India, there is a deep distrust of the American government, not of the people, not of the country, but of the government. And a lot of Indians feel that the more you engage with America, the more you're opening yourself up for betrayal. They will stab you in the back. And people quote examples. I've had very heated discussions with some people regarding this entire piece. What Dr. Jaishankar obviously did not say all these things. This is my analysis. But I've had heated discussions and Indians saying that, no, I've spent 30 years in the United States of America and it's a beautiful country and land of the free, home of the brave. I said, yeah, fine, it's land of the free, home of the brave. I'm not denying all of that. Nothing against the people of the United States of America. But their successive governments who've let down everybody, they lie to their own people. I mean, Indian democracy may have its faults, right? And we have 100 faults, if not more, 100 faults. We are not a perfect democracy. But America preaches democracy through the barrel of a gun. America causes death and destruction. America kills innocent people across the world, right? In the name of freedom, in the name of democracy. And then it says, come rise with us for democracy. Fight for democracy. It pays people, it motivates people to fight for democracy. And one fine day, America disappears, leaving those people to die. This has happened a dozen times in the past 70 years, which is why many people in India feel that you cannot trust the Americans. The Russians, on the other hand, are not as smooth as the Americans. They're rough people. But the Russians will not let you down, right? They are tough negotiators. The Russians will not give you anything on a plate just because you're a friend. They'll negotiate the hell out of any agreement. But Russia will not let you down. America will let you down. America has a track record of letting down people. And I don't blame Dr. Jaishankar, He's saying he could not get an agreement going on the Quad. That's one piece. That's one piece. But the problem is that tomorrow, if India were to fight China, God forbid there is a war and India fights China, right? America after some time will backtrack. And it's good that we are not buying so many weapons from America. We're buying some, but let us not, let's be very aware and beware of buying big weapons platforms from the United States of America. You buy F-21s from America, right? You say, okay, we are ordering 50 or 100. America will not transfer 100% of the technology, even after promising it, and America will ditch you when you're in a state of war. They'll just backtrack. They're not going to help. Dr. Jaishankar severely criticized Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru's policies towards China, and he said words to the effect that we were always waiting for China and China decided policies, when it came to India. And he said that Jawaharlal Nehru always waited for China's lead before prioritizing India, which is totally opposite to what Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel did. This is what Dr. Jaishankar has to say. And today, he says that Prime Minister Modi has taken off from Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel's school of thought of putting India first, irrespective of the discomfort, irrespective of the circumstances. He spoke about the Chindia policy of Jairam Ramesh of the Congress, which said there should be a joint rise of India and China, right? There should be competition, but there should be a joint rise. Obviously, these are fairy tale stories by Jairam Ramesh. There is nothing called joint rise. And Jairam Ramesh, of all the people, because he belongs to the Congress, should understand that China covets Indian territory. They covet our territory. There is no joint rise with China. There is no friendship with China. There is no turning your back in the sense of not moving away from a friend, but feeling safe with your back turned towards China. There is no question of joint rise with China. China covets our territory. China covets Ladakh. It covets Arunachal Pradesh. China covets Uttarakhand, parts of Uttarakhand, parts of Arunachal Pradesh, parts of Himachal Pradesh. How can there be a joint rise? Hasn't Mr. Jairam Ramesh heard of the palm and five fingers policy of China? The palm is Tibet. The palm is Tibet. And the five fingers are Uttarakhand, Ladakh, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh, Himachal Pradesh. Along these 5 states and Ladakh, which is a union territory, along these 4 states and the union territory of Ladakh runs the 3,500 plus line of actual control. And that is the real problem. Joint rise with China, out of the question. Absolutely. To Mr. Jairam Ramesh, I would like to quote our former defense minister, Mr. George Fernandez, God bless his soul. He was a union leader, a firebrand union leader, and one of India's most charismatic defense ministers. And I remember it was in 96 or 97 or 98. I was in the army at that point in time, and I read in the papers where he pointed out categorically saying that, China is our primary enemy. And that ruffled a lot of feathers, ruffled a lot of feathers. People said that, how can he say that? And he's wrong, he's bonkers, he doesn't know what he's talking about. He does not have a pulse on the ground. He does not have a feel for what's happening in strategic affairs and why is he the defense minister of India. They said all of that. And in fact, in 1999, there was Kargil and we lost 527 of our brave hearts. And that gave people more ammunition, to badger George Fernandez, telling him that this guy does not know anything, and he's saying China is the main enemy, but decades later, he has been proven right. George Fernandez was a visionary. He could see into the future. And what he said, in the late 90s resonates today, and we find that what he's saying is correct. China is the real enemy. Pakistan is not the problem. Behind Pakistan lurks a dark, malignant force, and that force is China. Ladies and gentlemen, ExpoSat is a polarimetry mission which India has launched, right? ISRO has launched on the 1st of January, and this is the second such mission in the world after NASA. A huge round of congratulations and applause and best wishes to ISRO. Very well done. You've become the second space agency in the world after NASA to have launched such a mission. There are huge missions planned. There are a lot of missions planned. And amongst them, this year is a mission called NISAR, N-I-S-A-R, planned along with NASA. The cost of this mission is $1.5 billion US. This is the most expensive mission launched by ISRO till date. The job of the NISAR satellite is going to be to map changes on the Earth's surface. This is an extremely high-tech mission, very expensive, and ISRO hopes to make this mission a success. We're keeping our fingers crossed in the month of October 2024. And there are many such missions planned. There is Gaganyaan, there is Mangalyaan 2, and so many others that are planned this year and also early next year. So ladies and gentlemen, with that I come to the end of the video. Now for question and answers. So the first question is from Uday Kumar, and he says, Bharat Mata Ki Jai. My question is, the consecration ceremony of Ram Temple is on 22nd January, and after 1 month the nation will switch to election campaign. Do you think Ram Temple can be targeted, as Pakistan might form a government with the help of USA? What is your opinion on this, as Ram Temple is going to be one of the cultural hub of India which will attract tourists? I don't think Pakistan wants to target the Ram Temple with the help of USA. I don't think. There could be terrorists, and there is a very real terror threat. But for USA to say that Pakistan, you target the Ram Temple, if something happens to the Ram Temple and we find out that Pakistan has done it, there will be no Pakistan, my friend. Kaustubh. Namaste, Major Sir. Namaste, Kaustubh ji. A few years ago, NIA busted ISIS connection in a village named Pagda Borivali, which is merely 15 kilometers away from Mumbai. NIA recovered some cash in lakhs and Hamas flags. The NIA report said terrorists were groomed for drone attacks. So do India have such many villages where Atangwadis training happening to execute attack on India? Importantly, what is a citizen we should do? As citizens, just keep your eyes and ears open. There is the NIA website. If you want to inform NIA of something, do that immediately. A drone is not a terribly sophisticated device. You can buy a drone. See, anybody, any engineer or anybody with common mechanical knowledge can hook up a drone. You need an explosive, right? Which obviously this guy in Maharashtra did not make. He got it from somewhere. You hook it up, all right? And you put it on a drone with a clamp. And when a drone attains a certain height, you press the remote control or make a phone call, or you can have a switch by which it releases the explosive. It's pretty simple. It's not very complicated. But yes, these sleeper cells are active, and we've spoken about them in the past on the Chanakya Dialogues Hindi and Chanakya Dialogues English. Sleeper cells are a reality, and we have to be cognizant of the fact that they can get active anytime. One phone call from Pakistan, one sleeper cell is active, and it can cause harm, because Pakistan's primary export to the world is terrorism. Chandu Rajan. Dear sir, this is Chandu from Kerala. Hello, Chandu ji. Do you think the Khalistanis are involved in human trafficking people from India and Pakistan into Europe, Canada and America and New Zealand, Australia for increasing their presence in the area? In Canada, the headcount population has reached a level that can now make decisions in the government, as they have their own party. When in power in these countries, they would be able to do major harm to India and our foreign policy. What's your take? No, I don't think they can do any harm at all. Are they involved in human trafficking? Yes. Immigration scams and human trafficking is the primary source of income for Khalistanis, apart from drugs, apart from weapons, apart from kidnapping people for ransom and, protection money from shops and other establishments and all that, yes. But to think that just because tomorrow you think it may be likely that they are forming the government in Canada and they could harm India? No. Canada is not a power at all. Canada is not a diplomatic power. Canada is just a nice looking country, that's all. Canada has no weight. Canada does not have the money of India. Okay? Canada can be part of G7. In the end, it doesn't matter. Money counts. We have more money than Canada. We have more tanks. We have more rifles. We have more people. We have more dollars. We have more credibility. We have far better diplomacy. And I don't want to say this because I don't want to compare Prime Minister Modi with Justin Trudeau. But in front of Prime Minister Modi, Justin Trudeau looks like a nincompoop. Yeah? So there is no danger at all. At all. There is no danger. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, press the like button, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.